This is Joe at Sierra Specialty Automotive. Welcome back to the shop. This is going to be another installment in my What's Broken Now series. Today it's the Carriage Stop on my small lathe. This started as a second upgrade to the Carriage Stop. The first upgrade I made was right after I bought the lathe to move the tightening function for the Carriage Stop from the bottom to the top, where it's much easier to get at. This modification is going to be replacing that cap screw, hex head cap screw that goes from the top down through to the clamp underneath. Replace that with an indexable or adjustable handle, one where the handle can be pulled up and turned relative to the screw so you can get it positioned where you need it to allow easy tightening of the screw, even though the stop might be close to the body of the lathe, where it won't make a full circle. You can index the handle to the point where you can get it tight within the space that you have to turn it. When I got ready to start doing the work, drilling out and retapping for the larger screw on the adjustable handle, I discovered that there was hardware missing. The locking plate underneath the Carriage Stop is held on by two socket head cap screws, and there are two socket head set screws installed in the plate. They're supposed to work against each other to maintain the gap between the body of the Carriage Stop and the locking plate underneath, while at the same time keeping the gap from being too big. One each of those screws was missing, so I start by obtaining replacement hardware. Right now I'm going to take the camera handheld for a few seconds to show the Carriage Stop on the machine and exactly what it looks like. This is the Carriage Stop on my small lathe. I mentioned that I was preparing to do the second modification. The first was the installation of that 1/4-20 machine screw from the top down. When I bought this lathe, there was an Allen fastener on the bottom of that moving jaw, the clamping jaw, and you had to practically get down on your hands and knees with an Allen wrench to find the head of that fastener and tighten the Carriage Stop. I grew tired of that very quickly and drilled the hole through the entire body and brought the cap screw down from the top where I could get at it with a 7/16 box wrench. The modification I'm preparing to do now is to install a swivel handle, indexable handle in place of the machine screw, so that I can do it so I can lock the Carriage Stop without a tool. And so to prepare for that, to measure the required length and make sure that the through hole cleared all the internal parts, I took the Carriage Stop off and discovered I was missing some pieces. A set screw and a machine screw had fallen off the bottom into the chip pan and out with the chips who knows how long ago. So this is a tune-up, a replacement of missing parts I'm going to use some different fasteners and some Loctite, some low strength Loctite to keep those fasteners on the bottom from falling out. And now we'll move, I'm going to take the stop off of the ways and move over to my roll-around cart to take a closer look at what's missing and what's still there. Here's the Carriage Stop. This is the V, rides on top of the V-way, and this block comes underneath to trap the way between the stop and the lock block. The set screws are to maintain an even gap here to keep this from tilting in this manner, but keep it straight on, parallel to the bottom of the way so it gets a good grip. As I was taking this apart, I remembered from 25 years ago when I installed this that these are the screws that capture, that lock it. So as delivered from the factory, you would have get underneath or feel underneath and engage the cap screws with the wrench from the bottom up. And that was the awkward thing. Now these have to be retained as guide pins. My new indexable handle is going to have a single point of contact, and if we don't leave if we don't leave these screws in here, there's nothing to keep this from swiveling back and forth. So these will have to remain installed as guide pins to keep this locking plate in alignment, but they can be left loose enough that I can swing this off of the way simply by loosening the handle. Then I can rock this up and off and remove it completely if I need to get the carriage close to the headstock. So project now will be to drill a clearance hole for 5/16 in the top part and drill and tap for 5/16 18 on this hole in this plate. So we'll meet you over at the milling machine to take care of that. I hope you can see this. I've started with a 5/16 clearance drill bottomed into the chuck as far as it would go. I've run the quill all the way down, set the table so that the outside edge of the flute is right at the parting line between the stop body and the lock plate underneath. This should give me a countersink into the locking plate, which will pick up the tap drill. Now I'm going to unlock the quill, put in a 1/4 inch bit, which is the size of the existing hole, and use that to find center just by eye. This is not horribly critical, but I'd like to get it fairly close. And I think I'm about there. Need to come a little toward me. Now I'm going to set this 5/16 bit back in, and since I set this up at maximum quill extension, I can just run this down all the way after I put it in gear. Now for the tap drill, that'll be letter F. Now I'll need to run the table up a bit in order to get this to go all the way through the locking block. Let's get this chuck out of the way. We're done with it for the moment. Since both of these pieces are cast iron, we are working dry. No lubricant required. That's a snug fit on that tap. I think I can get a full set of threads in there without having to break this down. If I can't, I'll just finish those threads. Losing my parallels. That's a taper tap. I can't feel quite enough of it. I'll have to finish those threads after I get this unbolted. But we have enough to guide the tap very reliably. Let's see if this adjustable handle will start down in there. It's coming up against the incomplete threads, so I will have to unbolt this. We'll move this operation back over to the roll-around cart. I'll see you there in a moment. Well, ready to start putting this together. We did get a little breakthrough here at the inside face. This web was thin enough that it broke out. I cleaned that up with a small chisel and some file work, a little wire brushing. It still is behind the face. This screw is behind this face, so there's no protrusion here, no interference, just a little bit of missing perimeter. Still got probably 85% of the perimeter, and it's just a clearance hole anyway, so no issues there. The replacement set screw I was able to find is a little bit shorter than the original, but it is still going to have something like 3/8 of an inch of thread engagement, so I don't anticipate any problems there. We'll get this partly assembled and ready to put on to do the final adjustment. Want a little bit of this screw sticking out. The gap before was something like 1/16 of an inch, so I'll see if I can get around about that area. That's probably pretty close right there. This is one original screw and one from my metric parts bin. Don't want those on very far. They're going to have to be pretty loose. Now, let's break this down and go back to the lathe and see if we can get this fitted up. I had to use longer cap screws as alignment screws on the bottom. Those are about, I don't know, 2 millimeters longer to get enough length to be able to rock this off. If with the shorter screws, I was not able to have it loose enough to roll off like that without having such a slight amount of thread engagement that I was concerned it would not stay. So we'll use these longer screws. The first objective here will be to get both of them set to a position where it will roll off. So I'm going to bring this one up till the gap is about uniform across there. Okay, that lets me roll it off. I can tighten up, back down, roll off, so I can get this off and out of the way very easily. Now I need to set these spacer screws so I have a uniform gap right here. Right now we're a little bit long, so let's back these out just a hair. Probably need both of them out just a bit. This is not highly critical, but I do want it fairly flat. Okay, that's looking good. I can swing that, lock it in any position. All right, now I'm going to leave this just barely clamped, just finger tight. Take these set screws out one at a time. I have washed all of the threads, male and female, with brake parts cleaner, dried them off with clean compressed air. Now we'll put a little dot of the 222 low strength Loctite. And bring them back up just a touch. Do that one more time with the other set screw. Get them both set about even. All right, that feels like about the same tension on both of them. That's good. Let me get these other two out, put some Loctite on them. I got to count the turns here. 1, 2, 3, 4, about 4.5 turns. Again, this is not terribly critical either. 1, 2, 3, 4.5. Should put us back where it'll come off, and it will. 1, 2, 3, 4. And about the same, about 4.5. One, 2, 3, 4. So I got that just a hair tight. There we go. There we go. And I think I'll loosen this one up just a hair again. These are just guide pins now. Okay. That looks good. That looks very good. I'm very happy with that. That is exactly what I was hoping for. Well, I gotta tell you, I wish every job went this well and worked out this well. This was a fun little project to improve the usability of that carriage stop and by extension the lathe whenever I need the carriage stop. Everything went as planned. All the hardware worked as expected, and the job just came out great. Real happy with it. Thank you for watching. I hope you'll comment. I hope you'll subscribe. I hope you'll give me a thumbs up. If you don't want to do that, give me a thumbs down. I'll take anything. Come back to the shop again sometime. Thanks for watching.